Welcome to MS Unmasked, Our Journey and Beyond, a podcast where hosts Justine Martin and Allyson Brown share their personal experiences, insights and practical advice on navigating life with multiple sclerosis. Each week they delve into topics such as self-care, nutrition, exercise, sleep and symptom management. Join them as they explore the physical, emotional and mental aspects of living with MS, providing a supportive community for listeners touched by this condition. Get ready to be inspired and empowered on this incredible journey through MS Unmasked, Our Journey and Beyond.
Welcome back, everyone, to MS Unmasked. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, Justine?
Well, I've got a little bit of laryngitis still, so I'm sounding a bit different, but I'm a lot better than last week, and we've had to delay the recording nearly a week for it. So sorry, apologies, listeners, if you're out there and you've been waiting to hear from us. It's Juzzie's had no voice.
Yes, and I guess you don't know sign language so well, or do you?
Well, I do know a little bit of it because my grandkids are learning signs. So,
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
yeah. And the problem is sign language and podcast don't go together. So it'd be right
No,
if you were
the
watching
vlog would be okay. Yeah.
If you were watching the vlogcast, yeah, not a problem. But the podcast, no, not at
Not
all.
so
So,
much.
yeah. So anyway, Allyson, we're going to talk about self-care this week and how important self-care is. What do you do for self-care?
Self-care. Look, I think my first big self-care thing, which is kind of like my whole life basically revolves around this, is eating the right thing. Because when I nourish my body with the right stuff, it actually performs well and it looks after me. Because I used to kind of feel like it was like me against my body. You know, my body would be doing one thing and then I'm like, come on, like I just want you to work properly. But when I'm fueling it with the right fuel, it actually plays ball and actually does what I need it to do. Obviously to certain levels, because as we talked about before, you know, previous damage equals hello, legs don't function properly. Hello, brain farts happen. Hello, like all of these things are kind of exist. But having that right fuel means that it functions a hell of a lot better than it used to. And I don't get as many days of that like consistent brain fog and that energy slump that just is a killer, like that fatigue. Oh my God, I remember those days. So that's my biggest self-care one, is looking after the fuel that I put in my body. And the first thing that I do every morning as part of my routine is to have a nutrient packed smoothie. So that's my first kind of like, yes, hello fuel, hello goodness into my body. So that's a bit of self-care that I do. What about you?
Water.
Yep.
Water.
Always got my water bottles. In fact, I actually have about 5 of them during the house. Like you'll actually find water bottles positioned all over the place. So I've always got access to it. And it's a reminder for me. It's a reminder to go, oh yeah, well, I better have some more water now, which I find to be really good.
Yeah, water, that's the first thing. Getting enough sleep as well.
Absolutely.
Not burning the candle at both ends.
Well, I don't know whether you do that one or not. I kind of feel like maybe you do it a little bit more.
I just like to push the boundaries a little bit.
Well, it's just because you like, you know, like you like helping people, you like doing projects, you like succeeding, you like, you know, you like pushing the boundaries, but at the same time, sometimes your body will go, you know what, Justine, no, you're going to have to rest.
You'll be so proud of me today because my business resilience mindset made it into the Australian Women's Business Champion Awards.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. And the judging has been done, but it is all announced on the 23rd of September in Sydney. And I looked at going up. Now, every time I fly to Sydney and come home, I get sick. And I get sick only going to Sydney. I fly to Perth, I fly to Brisbane, I fly to Townsville, and I fly to Townsville quite often, and I never get sick. But every time I fly to Sydney, I'm ill. So at the beginning of the year, I got COVID from it, and I've come back. And obviously, last week was pretty much a write-off because of my voice. And I made the decision today that I'm not going. So I put my self-care first, and I'm not going. There were a couple of reasons. That's on the 23rd, back on the 24th. I fly out again on the 28th to Townsville, and my body just can't do it. It just can't handle it. As much as I'd love to go to Sydney for the awards night and drink Shandon all night, there's no way I can do that. And then my daughter's getting married 3 weeks after that weekend, and that's my prime.
Yeah.
And I need to be 100% healthy as I possibly can be for that. And then throw in there that I'm off to Ireland 2 weeks after that. So it's like, okay, I need to stop and think. All right, next year, my daughter's not getting married. Next year, we'll make it in the finals again. I'm a pretty good awards writer. We'll get in there with bigger and better things. Morpheus Publishing. We'll definitely put Morpheus Publishing in next year, and maybe even Justine Martin speaker or something like that, and Resilience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What you're saying is basically sometimes self-care comes down to a sacrifice. You make a choice. You have to make a choice. And the choice is, do I put myself at risk and risk all of those other things that now you wouldn't be able to do? Or do I just go, oh, I really want to go, but you know what? I just need to look after myself.
I've been very quiet since I've had this round of laryngitis, because in previous years, so back in 2000 and when was it? 2017. At the end of 2017, I got laryngitis, and I pushed through it, and I kept pushing through it, and I ended up, and we've spoken about this on the podcast before, I ended up waking up one morning, couldn't put my feet on the ground for the amount of pain and electricity that was shooting out of them. And I am scared that that would happen again, and I would lose the ability to walk again, and I would have to, sit in hospital for 3 or 4 weeks and rehab. And I'm like, no. So this time around, I have been so quiet when it's come up, and didn't go out on the weekend. Was supposed to go out again for Saturday night for dinner with my girlfriends, and then they were going to the pub afterwards. And I went, no, I can't go. And they're like, why? Because I'm normally, I try and get there. And I'm like, because I'm not well enough to go. And I can't put that stress on my body. So I had a very quiet weekend at home. Saved a lot of money by not going to that. Saving a lot of money, $1,200 by not going to this awards thing in Sydney. By the time, flights, accommodation, food, taxi, and the ticket event was $365. So there's self-care on my wallet. Oh,
That's true. That's true. And it's kind of about looking at that positive side of it. Like, it's like, oh, I miss out. I miss out on that opportunity. But guess what? There is a silver lining, and you've got to look for those kind of positives sometimes.
$1,200 richer by not going to it.
I just made myself $1,200. Yay.
If I win, they're going to post me the trophy anyway.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Yeah.
So what else do you do for self-care?
So massages, a weekly massage, and it's not a relaxation massage. That, for me, a massage is so I can walk without my legs spasming so much and my feet. My toes hook under, so they go all spasmy on me, and so I can actually walk. I have that done. What else do I do? I too eat good. I know when I'm eating crappy, I have no energy for anything else.
Eat crap, feel crap. Crap in, crap out. That's
and the brain fog is absolutely terrible. I make sure I'm very proactive in my health, in like my doctor's appointments, my blood tests, taking my medications. taking them on time, not forgetting to do them, having reminders set in my phone and in my planner to just even do my infusion, my once a week infusion, because it is quite easy to forget that you got to do it. Even though I've been doing it 3 years, with my brain, I just don't remember those things. So I've got reminders all set. Oh, look, I put my feet up. And I just watch some TV, or I take myself to the movies. I look after my mental health in seeing a counsellor regularly. I think that's extremely important. I go every 2 to 3 weeks and have done so for the last 12 years, because I don't believe it's my family or my friends' responsibility to hear me vent and what's happening with my body. I need someone to talk to, and someone that's partial as well. So I do pay someone to sit there and listen to me with it. So that falls under self-care. I get my nails done. I'll just put them up to the camera. So they're pretty ones at the moment. So they're all sparkly.
I do my own, but they're not nearly as nice.
So I get my nails done. I get my hair done. I get my eyebrows waxed. May put a little bit of colour in there to get rid of the white highlights.
Oh, no, there's no whites in there. No. That would never happen.
At my age, yes. There's fairy sprinkles in there. So, I get rid of those, and that makes me feel better. I feel younger when that happens. I look after my skin. I moisturize it. I learn new things. That comes under self-care. I keep my brain active. I'm always learning something new for the business. Yeah, it takes me like 2, 3, 4 times the length of time than what it ever used to do it. But I do get there eventually. Sometimes with a lot of mistakes along the way, but you learn from them. One mistake is a mistake. A second time you do it is a choice. But I learn new things as well. I catch up with family and friends when I can. Keeping that community and that support there as well is really important. That comes under self-care. What about you? I'm dominating the conversation again. You got a butt in there.
Oh, good. Look, I do the same in terms of I make sure that I set boundaries as well for work stuff. So I really, really try not to do work things on the weekends so that I can spend my time doing self-care activities. So, if all of the week I haven't really gone out and done a whole bunch of stuff, the weekend is when I do that, and I can do it with my husband. So I like to be able to spend that time with him. Little things I've got my room's kind of surrounded by plants. I know your house is kind of the same, but it's really nice. Yeah, that's right. But it's a little bit of self-care because it's it kind of brightens up your space and it makes you feel a little bit brighter. But it also is great for detoxifying the air and purifying the air as well, which is amazing. So kind of win-win, I reckon. But I also make sure that I get outside. I do some grounding, earthing, where you walk on the grass, walk on the ground, because this is amazing for kind of getting recentered. Just going for walks, getting outside in some sunshine. I just went outside this morning because we're looking after my neighbour's dog at the moment. And so he's kind of constantly like, oh, yeah, come outside. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll drink my smoothie outside. And it just happened that there was a break in between the clouds and some sunshine started coming through. And I was like, oh, yay, I love it. I love it when I get to drink my smoothie out on the deck and it's sunny. And, that makes me feel so, so good.
Wasn't the weekend amazing? Oh, my
gosh.
So warm. Not like now. I mean, I've had the heater going all day. That's self-care. Not, allowing myself to get so cold I can't move. But
that's right. Anything that just takes the edge off or makes it a little bit easier, if that means that you're paying somebody to, as we've talked about before, clean your house or do your washing or whatever that looks like, sometimes that's a bit of self-care because you're taking the burden off yourself to make sure that you've got time to do those things that matter to you and that you care about and that make you smile and make you feel alive, because that's what it's all about, right? So finding those things that make you feel good. And whether that be just putting a little bit of lippy on one day and just being like, you know what, I just feel that tiny bit better today because, I don't look as awful as I usually do. And I remember doing that. I did that definitely when I was unwell. I was like, you know what, I feel like shit. I look like shit. I'm just going to put a little bit of something on so that when I look in the mirror, I don't feel as awful or even worse than I actually do.
Just foundation.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have to have lippy on. I've just got to have my foundation on. And
when I don't, people say to me like, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like you look really unwell."
Yeah.
They're just like, "You look really unwell," and I'm like, "No, just not wearing any makeup."
And I've got a bottle of MAC foundation that I found in the drawer, and it's about $50 a bottle. And I went, I'm going to use that up at the moment before it goes off. And so it's a slightly different shade as well to what I normally would wear. And I've had a few comments in regards to that. So yeah, that's quite funny. I like my environment clean and organised. So you've been to my house, you see that things are in place. I mean, I've got a lot of shit in my house as well, but I like to make sure that it's all organised, and therefore I'm a lot calmer.
Yes, because otherwise you get that overwhelm. You get that like, oh God, nothing's in its place, and I don't know how to think straight through that because there's junk everywhere, or things are disorganized. I totally get it. I had to clean up my desk on the weekend for that exact purpose because I was like, I can't think my way through this.
Yeah, my bedroom needs doing at the moment. I was going to do it last weekend, but I wasn't well enough to go and do it. And I thought, you know what, another week and it won't hurt. So I'll get in this coming weekend and do that. So
it's a little bit like, look, it is an effort, and I wouldn't recommend doing it all in one big go for most people because it does take effort. Yeah. Sorry, Ollie, you'll just have to wait a sec. The little dog is like, come on. Oh, come on.
I just had Pansy trying to get on my lap as well.
Here he is. Hello. Yes, I see you. So I wouldn't recommend doing it all at once, but having that cleanse, that clear out of whether it be clothes that you're like, oh God, everything's just falling out of the drawers. I need to just tidy it up.
One drawer at a time. So I teach people when I'm coaching them for, building resilience, that just one drawer. We've all got that one drawer in our house that everything gets shoved into. That's a really good drawer to start.
Or 10 drawers or 20 or whatever that looks like. But what I was going to say was that act of like actually clearing that out and then donating some of those clothes to, charity shops and that sort of thing, that can be amazing because when you walk back in and things are really neat and clear and you can open and close the drawers without them being all like bunched up and everything, you feel like a weight's lifted off your shoulders and you just feel better in yourself. I did it to my house when my husband went away on a trip for a week, and I was like, right, I'm going through every room and I'm going to clear out stuff. We had a whole deck full of stuff that I was going to donate, but it felt amazing to clear out the house and just have space. I could breathe again. Do you know what I mean? Like it just made me feel lighter. So I definitely recommend doing that sort of spring clean every now and then just to be able to, just sort of re-energize yourself a little bit. So
I've been back in the studio working this week because I've got staff away and that, and I looked around in here and I can't find anything. And I mean, we have got like some tags on the, I don't know if you can see some of them up here. They're like student paint that says and that. And I've inboxed both of them and I've gone, we need to clean up this studio because I can't find anything where it's meant to be. And that, my anxiety goes through the roof when I can't find stuff. So I need to have a big painting sale because there's so many of my paintings that are sitting around here and I'm like, right, they're all going to be sold. So it'll happen after the wedding.
Yes. And I love, like, when you're saying putting, like, labels and things on stuff, it's like having the shadow boards that they use in people's, like, garages and stuff where it's, like, the outline of the hammer and the hammer goes there. I love that. And it's something that we learnt about in the continuous improvement space when I was working in corporate. And it's about reducing cognitive load. And obviously for people with MS, cognition is a problem, right? Like thinking is a bit of a problem sometimes. So anything that you can do to just make it a bit simpler to, that's where that stuff goes. Like it can be so, so helpful to do that. So I would highly recommend, just putting a little label or putting a little section that's like, this is where that stuff goes, because it can mentally just save space for you, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. 100%. And my office is like everything's in its place. And my mum used to, like years ago, before she got MS and that, but maybe she actually did have MS when she used to say this. We used to take the scissors, and nothing would piss her off more than taking her scissors and then not putting them back in the right place. And I tell you what, I'm the same here. Like, I've got 6 pairs of scissors in this studio, and they've all got to go back in the scissors drawer. And don't take the ones out of the kitchen, because they're the kitchen scissors. And then we've got different scissors here that have material like tied on the end of them. And don't cut paper with those scissors.
Yeah.
And that helps with my mental well-being as well. And the girls all know, if I walk in and they're cutting paper with those material scissors, look out.
Yeah, that's right. My mum used to say the same. She was like, no, that's my material scissors, because she used to love we used to be in calisthenics. So we used to make costumes all the time. So she was basically the one that made all our costumes. And so she was constantly doing that, needed her material scissors. You did not went across her when you used her material scissors for something else.
I know. Or you were in big, big trouble.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you're looking after your own self-care, sometimes it can be difficult, because you'll have, friends or family will say, go on, have that piece of cake, one piece won't hurt, or, go on, have that drink, or, why can't you come out and that. But they're not living in your body. They're not the ones that have to cope with the aftermath of those decisions.
Yeah.
That you make. So, stand your ground.
Yeah, because it's really important to put you first, because it's like that airplane analogy. When you put you first, then you can help others, right? And
that's the
and yourself.
Theory. That's called the oxygen mask theory. So
yeah, exactly.
They tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before even helping a child, because if you're not getting that oxygen into you first, you're going to be dead within about 60 seconds. So, and it's the same. Put your needs first, in your self-care needs first, and then you won't resent everyone else, and you'll have more time for everyone else.
I know a lot of people that I talk to, they struggle with this concept, particularly I would say women, because women are, the mothers, and they're the ones that look after the children predominantly. And because we've got that sort of maternal instinct, we can't help but put everybody else beyond ourselves first, right? Like everybody else's needs come first, the kids, the partner, the friends, everybody's. And sometimes self-care is about actually just saying, no, I need to look after me first, because then you can be the best version of yourself to look after everybody else after that. Yeah.
That's right. And you have to be the best version of yourself. I mean, even with everything that's wrong with us, we could still be the best version of that version.
Yeah. Even if we're having a bad day, we're doing our best to make sure that we've got more good days than bad days up our sleeves. And, some of these self-care practices help us to be able to do that. Even doing like regular meditations and stuff like that. You can get so many guided meditations on YouTube and everything, and Insight Timer, all that sort of stuff that are for free.
I cannot meditate. I've tried. I just can't slip off to meditate. But what I can do is I sit in the art studio in this room and I create art. And I go into a meditative state when I'm creating art. And you got to find what you need. Not everyone can sit in the corner, close their eyes and go, it doesn't work for some of us. But, you got to find what works in calming your mental state.
Well, I used to go into that sort of state. Like I'd be in a trance and hours would go by until I was like, oh geez, I've just created a whole art piece and I never kind of realized that I was doing it, or I was just entranced in it. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You go into this sort of meditative kind of, it just takes over your thoughts, your consciousness, I suppose, which allows you to just feel, just be, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that creative side, so when I was really unwell in 2018, I couldn't even work out what 8 divided by 2 was. So my analytical side of my brain was broken. But my creative side was untouched. My creative side was flourishing. So
my creative side actually became more prevalent than ever. And my analytical side, I still can't count. That's one of my cognitive impairments. I'm better.
Who needs to be able to count when you've got a calculator, you've got an iPhone, it'll do it for you. That's fine, but it can't create art like you do.
No, that's right. That's right. And I laugh because in high school, when I went to high school, I'm a little bit older than you, Allyson. The teachers used to say, you need to know how to do this in maths and that in maths because you're never going to be walking around with a calculator in your pocket. Ha! How wrong were they now? Because nearly every single person walks around with that calculator in their pocket.
Absolutely.
So, and I've adapted and modified. I can't use cash because I can't see if they're giving me the right amount of change, things like that. But we live in a plastic society anyway, so it's just tap and go with it. But yeah, that part of my brain still hasn't come completely back. And it probably never will either.
And it's okay. It's about just learning to adapt and maybe just knowing your own boundaries with that and being okay with it and going, you know what, that's fine. I will just do the method that works best for me.
I'm like, there's bigger things that could go wrong than that. So, let's just celebrate that I'm still upright, I'm still walking. And
absolutely.
Even if some days it's an effort, I'm still out there doing it. I was going to say another thing of self-care for me is my dog, is my pets. So I have pet frogs. Well, a frog now because I've lost 2. They passed away. But Pansy is definitely, she's looking at me. She'll be over for a cuddle in a minute. Pansy's definitely a huge part of my self-care routine and, taking her for walks. But just even having, here she comes, just even having cuddles with her.
Well, my neighbour's dog is on my lap right now. I know you can't see him, but...
Well, for those that are actually listening to the podcast, you'll have to hop on the vlogcast on our YouTube channels and you'll be able to see little Miss Pansy. Today, she had her paw prints done today, and I've had a stamp made for her book signing so I can put them in the book. But, yeah, looking after her, taking her for walks and everything is definitely important.
Yeah. And I reckon something else that we might have mentioned on another episode was just limiting sort of social media if that's becoming quite overwhelming and quite negative sometimes, or even just like watching the news. Sometimes those kinds of stories that are all designed to go, oh my God, like some other person died or some other attacks happening overseas or, all this sort of stuff. It's to create kind of drama and everything. But sometimes that's sort of destructive. Sometimes we can take that on as being our own sort of stress, and we don't need that as well. So sometimes
news in 3.5 years. I've not watched a news episode in that long. And am I missing things? No, because anything that's important will be spoken about in conversation.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
I can do my own research into it.
Yeah. Another one that is a trigger for me personally, and I know some people will be like, oh my God, you're crazy, but that's okay. I accept this. So sometimes my husband flicks over to watch like a David Attenborough program, and they're amazing. They're amazing. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes when they've got animals that are being hurt or injured or attacked or whatever, that actually hurts my soul. It hurts my heart to watch them being, whatever it looks like. And I actually have to switch off or close my eyes because I'm like, I just can't watch the torture because I take it on. I actually take on the feeling of pain, and I don't find that to be a helpful feeling for me. So I just make sure that I ask him very nicely or turn it off. I just have to make sure that I don't get
That's
sucked
another
in.
thing. I mean, if you're watching a movie and you're really not enjoying it, don't watch to the end. Just turn it off. If you're sitting there, if you're sitting there by yourself, I've got up and walked out of movie theaters before. It's like, no, I'm not going to watch the end of this.
I think you said that you don't like horror movies because of that.
God.
Yeah. So particularly for people that are like, they watch something that's like makes them, get that sort of startled effect, and that's stressful on your body. If that does it to you and you're like, you know what, I'm just not enjoying this, that's okay. Just don't watch it, switch it off. It's okay just to say no.
They put me into a fight and flight mode.
Yeah.
And thrillers as well. I have to be really careful with thrillers as well. I mean, I've been through a lot of trauma and domestic violence and everything, and a few times in my life. And I get that fight and flight mode by watching things like that. So I have to be extremely careful. I mean, I am aware of it as well. So I just don't pick those genres when I'm on Netflix or Disney or any of those streaming services. And I watch, I look at the trailers and that on the movies that I'm going, in movie theaters that I'm going to watch as well. And it just makes a huge difference then to my longer term mental health of it than, waking up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night because of the scene in a movie.
Yeah.
So to speak. And that's happened.
Yeah. And I was speaking to somebody just recently who is on medications, and this might be relevant to some of the listeners, taking medications for sleeping, so sleeping tablets. And some of the side effects of those can be sort of hallucinations or nightmares and that sort of thing. Now, this person said to me, I make sure that when I'm just about to go to sleep, I put on something like, a cartoon, a Disney movie, something that's happy, something that's, not going to be one of those thrillers or zombie movies or whatever, because otherwise that actually manifests in their subconscious to create a nightmare out of it. And, that's not fun. So, just watching something that's calm, that's, makes you kind of happy, just is kind of. Yep, or that too.
Yeah, I turn off the electronics before going to bed and I read a book. I try and get one chapter done a night.
Yep.
That's my goal. One chapter a night. It's amazing how you can get through a book when you just read one chapter.
Yeah. And it depends on, whether you're a big reader. I'm not a big reader because I do a lot of reading and a lot of research for my work stuff, right? So reading is not as pleasurable to me to just go and read a novel, for instance. But you know what? Maybe when I retire, I will definitely get into reading. Like my dad, who hasn't read a book in his entire life, he just told me the other day, he goes, I read 5 books in 2 weeks. And this is like astounding for him. So I told him, I said, well, you're going to have to read our MS book that's coming out. And he's like, oh, yeah, I suppose I will.
Which is coming out next week. Woohoo!
Amazing. You've done such a good job to get it to this point. I can't believe it's just around the corner. Amazing.
I know we've got, I think, 9 sleeps or something. So the MS book that's coming out will be available for purchase online, and we'll put the links up in the next coming weeks for that as well. And we are having an online launch, which is the 21st of October, and we'll give you details of that next week. Or if you follow us on socials, so just hop on Resilience Mindset, Justine Martin Speaker, Morpheus Publishing, Just Art, or myself just as Justine Martin. And Allyson, you've got a list a mile long as well for your socials.
Yeah, just Allyson Brown. You can find me on Facebook or Everheal or Instagram or TikTok. You'll be able to find us somewhere.
Yeah, I'm on all those as well. Justine Martin Corporation. We will have the links up in the next week or so for the live launch, online
that'll be
launch.
exciting.
Yeah. So
Very exciting.
looking forward to next Thursday night. Can't wait. This has been a project that we've been working on since I've been working on it for 9 months. And so it's like a baby that's about to be born there as well. And it will go global. I will make sure it goes global in the process. So,
absolutely. No, it's amazing. You've done such a great job in bringing this book together and to life. Like it's got legs now. It's got a life. It's not just a pie in the sky project. It's real. It is happening. And I am so excited to be a part of it.
I've smelt the pages of it. So.
That's right. That new book smell.
Yes, and it's quite thick. It's like 348 pages in thickness. So
amazing,
guys, from it. But anyway, Allyson, I think we'll wrap it up this week.
Yes. Well, everybody, just make sure that you put you first and do that self-care, whatever that looks like for you. Just to put you first. And if you need any help or ideas or anything, just reach out to Justine or I, and we can help you just start, forming some better habits, or, just finding out what your actual, what things that you actually enjoy doing, so that you can start creating some habits around those self-care routines.
That's right. So until next time, everyone, you all stay healthy.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.